Today, the Drug Enforcement Administration announced a massive drug bust connected to a major Mexican cartel. 19 people have been charged, including Washingtonians and foreign nationals.
Seattle was thrown into turmoil as agents launched an operation of unmatched scale. In one coordinated strike, federal teams swept across the city from every direction. Warehouses, shipping yards, quiet suburban homes, doors shattered as helicopters thundered above. Streets locked down, exposing a Sinaloa cartel command cell buried deep within Seattle. Operation Clean America had been quietly building for 18 months, a combined DEA ICE effort driven by wiretaps, encrypted intercepts, and relentless surveillance. Dozens of raids, hundreds of agents, tons of narcotics seized. What you're seeing here is only a fraction of the hundreds of pounds of methamphetamine confiscated, enough to wipe out entire communities across the Puget Sound region. For Seattle, this wasn't another bust. It was the breaking point, the moment the fentanyl war truly exploded on American soil. Stay with me. What you're about to witness shows how a single ambush evolved into a nationwide counteroffensive. The mission began 18 months earlier in a small border town of the American Southwest when 9 U.S. citizens were ambushed and murdered by a gang. Tonight, new details emerge after that brutal assault on American families in Mexico. 3 mothers and 6 of their children lost their lives. The attack was meant as a warning, but to federal agents, it signaled something far greater, a declaration of war. Investigators later uncovered spent casings, scorched license plates, and charred phones. The evidence was undeniable. This was no isolated act. It was the first link in a chain of crimes stretching deep into the United States. 2 cartels locked in conflict, mistaken SUVs, and the beginning of one of the largest investigations in modern American history. Should that single ambush have been treated as an act of war? Type yes if you think the agents were right to strike back. Type no if you believe it went too far. After the killings, the investigation never paused. What began as one ambush ignited one of the most extensive federal probes in modern history, an investigation spreading like lines on a battlefield map. Federal intelligence centers suddenly lit up with movement across Arizona, Washington, and California. Agents discovered ledgers filled with coded writing and shipping, manifests that didn't match their listed cargo. Encrypted texts linked small trucking firms, import-export businesses, and crypto wallets. Each operated under different names, yet every one carried the same digital fingerprint and unmistakable pattern tying them together. Every transaction, every money trail led to one name, the Sinaloa cartel. The 2 masterminds behind the network were known only by their code names, Vodka 42 and Cow 31. Born in Sinaloa, Mexico, Kaido was the architect of the money laundering empire. Skilled in cryptocurrency, he built layers of shell companies and offshore systems to clean their profits. This wasn't an outside threat, it was a criminal enterprise rooted inside America itself, using trucking fleets, storage facilities, and small import businesses as camouflage. They were poisoning the nation with millions of lethal doses. Agents soon grasped how deep the hidden danger reached. Undercover buys exposed cocaine laced with fentanyl, nicknamed pink cocaine, a toxic mix crafted to target America's youth directly. Even worse, deals no longer happened on dark street corners. They took place through phones and encrypted chat apps with crypto payments and deliveries tracked like online orders. A few taps placed an order. Within days, the packages arrived. By the time investigators traced the first shipment, the harm was already done. Since the start of 2025, Washington State has recorded 1,866 overdose deaths, 76% involving fentanyl. In King County, the statistics shattered every record, more than 2,000 lives lost, many of them school children. Every overdose report became another point on the investigation map. Every death, a piece of evidence, a grim reminder of the cost. Their empire thrived on secrecy, money, and technology. Yet federal agents were closing in, tracking every transaction, mapping each warehouse, and assembling the evidence for a strike that would rattle the cartel to its core. Should the agents hit first before another life was lost to overdose? Type yes if you agree. America, they believed, had waited long enough. The operation launched before dawn. Inside a command post, federal agents watched digital maps flash across the nation. Red dots marked targets in 8 states: Seattle, Tacoma, San Diego, Dallas. Every second mattered. At 0400 hours, the order echoed execute. 800 agents moved in unison: DEA, ICE, FBI, ATF. Each had one mission: to dismantle the Sinaloa network within U.S. borders. Helicopters swept over Tacoma's docks as drones circled warehouse rooftops. In Seattle's dark streets, armored trucks rolled out silently, thermal cameras locked onto suspects hiding behind garage walls. The raids were surgical, swift, and devastatingly precise. Months of surveillance compressed into 48 hours of controlled chaos. At one site, agents stormed a suburban storage unit and found drums of chemicals, rifles modified for full auto fire, and stacks of cash sealed in plastic. At another, they uncovered explosives, grenade cartridges, detonators, and enough powder to level an entire block. The operation unfolded like clockwork, methodical, relentless, unstoppable. In total, agents seized more than 4,000 pounds of meth, 260 pounds of fentanyl, millions in cash and gold, and dozens of illegal weapons. Analysts later calculated that the fentanyl alone could have killed 7 million people. The hunt for the two brothers ended off California's coast when a surveillance drone tracked a yacht heading for open water. Within minutes, federal boats surrounded it. Targets confirmed: Vodka and Kaido on deck. No shots fired, no escape. Both captured alive. By the second night, over 80 suspects were in custody, including cartel enforcers and undocumented couriers operating from Seattle's port. The mission lasted exactly 48 hours, the largest synchronized anti-cartel strike in a decade. As dawn broke across the Pacific, northwest smoke still curled above the warehouses. Agents stood in silence, faces lit by the flash of emergency lights as evidence trucks pulled away. For the first time, the Sinaloa command cell inside America had fallen, but everyone knew the war was far from over. The gunfire had ended, but the real fight was just beginning. So tell me, where do you stand when justice divides a nation? The raids had ended, but the aftershocks were only beginning. In the following days, Seattle became a city on edge. Federal agents loaded seized weapons and boxes of evidence into armored trucks while news helicopters hovered overhead. The footage looped nonstop: burned out warehouses, stacks of cash, masked agents leading suspects away in cuffs. America watched the takedown unfold live, but victory came with consequences. As ICE expanded its sweeps to detain immigrants tied to the cartel, Seattle's city government pushed back. Mayor Bruce Harrell took the podium, his voice calm but firm. Seattle will not become a battleground for federal overreach, he declared. His words echoed through the city like a challenge. He insisted the city stood for human rights and due process. To ICE, those words sounded like defiance. To many citizens, they felt like denial. By the weekend, downtown filled with voices and banners. One side marched beneath signs reading "Sanctuary for All." The other side, parents of overdose victims, waved American flags and photos of their lost children chanting justice for the dead. Police formed barricades holding the two crowds apart as anger ricocheted through the streets. Inside, federal command officials reviewed the data and grasped what had truly surfaced: not just a cartel network, but a national divide. Some viewed the agents as protectors, others saw them as intruders. Yet the numbers spoke louder than politics. 3,866 overdose deaths in Washington, 76% from fentanyl. These weren't talking points, they were tombstones. While the country debated, the agents who led the raids vanished back underground, tracing the cartel's remaining money lines. Servers were still active. Wallets still transferred crypto across borders. Vodka and Kaido were gone, but their system lived on automated, decentralized, waiting for a new operator. By night, Seattle's skyline shimmered under a cold rain. Beneath it, grief and fury mixed like oil on water. The public called it justice. The government called it enforcement. But for the agents who fought that 48-hour war, it felt like neither peace nor victory. It was simply the cost of holding the line. The mission had ended. Vodka and Kaido were in federal custody. Yet across America, the damage they left behind still bled through city streets. In Seattle alone, emergency lines kept ringing, overdose calls coming minute by minute. In King County, morgues overflowed. Every body bag bore the same invisible mark: fentanyl. Federal prosecutors filed 37 indictments detailing a criminal empire run, like a corporation: trucks, warehouses, accountants, even fake investors. The DEA called it industrialized death. ICE described it as logistics-based infiltration. But for the agents on the ground, it was simpler. It was war A war fought not in jungles or deserts, but in schools, neighborhoods, and on digital screens. Inside Justice headquarters, the operations command team gathered one final time, monitors still glowing with maps and live data feeds. Even with the brothers captured, the money still flowed. Crypto wallets remained active, routes continued to adapt. The cartel had evolved into code, and America would need to evolve faster. Yet, amid exhaustion and grief, a quiet pride filled the room. They had dismantled the largest Sinaloa network ever discovered within the United States. 7 million lethal doses stopped before they reached American hands. 800 agents stood shoulder to shoulder across 8 states in one synchronized strike. A senior DEA director faced the press, his voice calm but unwavering. "This isn't the end of the fight. It's proof that America still stands. Watch. We protect our people and we strike back." Outside, the Pacific wind swept the docks where it all began as Seattle's skyline gleamed, quiet but ready for the next signal. For those agents, Operation Red Bane wasn't a story of closure, it was a warning. A signal that the cartel war had crossed every border, that each overdose was an assault on the nation itself. America, though, scarred, still stood unbroken, refusing to surrender its streets. But what followed proved the war was far from over. Inside a classified cyber forensic lab outside Quantico, analysts dug through thousands of seized devices, laptops, encrypted phones, even car infotainment drives. What they uncovered was worse than expected. The cartel servers weren't only communicating with Mexico, they were pinging domestic systems in Delaware, Texas, and Virginia through fake tech startup cloud accounts. One digital vault held over 40 terabytes of data warehouse inventories, shipping routes and bank ledgers written in code and hidden within metadata. A single phrase appeared again and again: Red Vein Protocol. Agents quickly realized this wasn't the end of the network. It was its command structure built to rebuild itself after every takedown. Across the country, dormant cells began reactivating. New crypto wallets opened just days after the Seattle arrests. Money moved through Hong Kong exchanges to shell importers in Los Angeles, then out to shipping yards in Puerto Rico. The system was regenerating. Inside Justice headquarters, the war room map flickered with fresh heat signatures, tiny, almost invisible nodes glowing from Florida to Chicago. It wasn't random, it was coordinated movement. Someone or something was waking up the backup network. Federal analysts traced the traffic to an offshore relay north of Mazatlan. The encryption matched the brothers' own security keys. Whoever had access wasn't a copycat, it was an insider. Then a name surfaced within the encrypted stream: Orion. No one knew if it was a person, a program, or a codename, but the digital signature matched a device last detected on U.S. soil. The war Seattle thought it ended had merely gone underground. In the closing report, one line was underlined in red ink: cartel infrastructure remains active through cyber logistics channels. Recommend escalation to Cyber Command Liaison. Within hours of the Quantico discovery, the war fell silent. No gunfire, no smoke, only code. At 0500 hours, the Pentagon's Cyber Ops Division came alive. Screens flickered like battlefields in the dark. The words Orion confirmed. Red Vein active, hit harder than any explosion. For the first time, the DEA, Homeland Security, and U.S. Cyber Command united as one strike force. Their new mission, Operation Iron Signal. This fight wouldn't unfold on land or sea, but across a grid of servers stretching from Houston to Mazatlan, from Delaware to South America. Inside the war room beneath Fort Meade, analysts became digital soldiers. Every keystroke was a trigger pull, every firewall breach an explosion in cyberspace. Thousands of connections flared across the map, red dots blinking like tracer fire. The enemy's network adapted fast, launching counterstrikes with false nodes and mirror servers. Packets of data slammed together at light speed, an invisible artillery duel raging in the digital void. At 0514, the first mirror lock snapped shut. One cartel operator logged in from Houston, another from Mexico's coast. Instantly, the Red Vein network detected intrusion and triggered its failsafe. Hard drives melted, servers burned, cloud farms collapsed one by one. In just 14 minutes, billions of dollars in criminal infrastructure vanished in a storm of electric fire. When silence finally returned, victory was undeniable. The cartel's digital command heart had been destroyed. Yet deep within the packet trace, one anomaly persisted, a ghost signal routed through an unmarked South American node labeled Project Seraph. The director's voice broke the silence. We won the battle, but the war is learning to fight back. Operation Clean America had become more than a mission, it was a message. Even when enemies hide behind code corporations or chaos, the United States still strikes back. Behind every raid, every seizure, and every sleepless hour stood men and women who refused to surrender their nation's streets. Their fight reminded America that the war on fentanyl isn't just about drugs, it's about defending the home, the children, the future itself. If you believe in that fight, and in those who keep watch, follow me, hit like, leave a comment, and share this story. Because the first step to protecting America is remembering who protects it. This isn't only law enforcement, it's national defense. Behind every raid, every seizure, and every silent night of surveillance stood men and women who refused to give up the streets of their homeland. Their struggle proves that the war on fentanyl reaches far beyond narcotics. It's about defending the American home, the American child, the American future. If you believe in that mission, in the strength of those who stand guard, follow me, hit like, drop a comment, and share this story. Because protecting America begins with remembering those who protect it. This isn't just law enforcement, it's national defense.